because I've been seeing some stuff about this. It is hilarious. It is hilarious. So they've done this thing. So I wasn't a big God of War fan. I played the last one though, and it was amazing. I really liked the last God of War game. The last one is kind of what brought me into the franchise, and then they instantly gender swapped the main character, like just instantly.
Harder.
And so,
Woman!
I mean, I have never played a game that was like designed for men, male main character, and then they all of a sudden pivot to a female main character, and then the game be good. Like the pivot from a male MC to a female MC, it's like a red flag. It's a red flag. It doesn't mean the game can't be good, but history, if you look at history, it's not going to be good. Like, that's just kind of, it's just kind of how things function. Usually, I mean, you build a brand around a character, and then when you change that character, people don't feel like they're getting the brand that you've built. Like, very much. I feel the same way. What is it? Like the new Witcher game? They're not. They don't have Geralt as the main character. Like, what are you doing? You watched the TV show, gender swap Geralt out, and then the TV show collapsed. Like, it was a disaster. The first one was decent, and then they took the focus off Geralt, just total disaster. And they're like, let's copy that. That disaster looks appealing. We'll take Geralt out and we'll replace him with a female character. And it's gonna go the exact same way the TV show went. I'll be honest to you. That's what's gonna happen. It will be terrible. Now, The Witcher is a big enough series that I imagine it'll still make money. Like, it'll be profitable, but it'll be nothing like what it could have been. Like, The Witcher 3 really, like, it brought in a lot of people just in time for them to leave. And now God of War doing the exact same thing. Like, big enough, I think they won't have I think they'll still be profitable. Like, they'll make back enough money. I don't think it'll be anything like the last game. Like the revenue they got from the last one. And so obviously you have a huge switch from a guy to a girl. And so there's just a lot of comments. Okay, so this is the first look at gameplay.
Not until I get you out.
I don't need help.
Here we go, coming up behind.
What is the cue? I mean, the combat looks fun. I mean, God of War's always been great with combat, right? So.
on opening that cage.
I mean, the combat looks good enough, right? The issue they're going to run into is that I was excited for the next God of War game, and this is not an auto buy for me. It would have to get ridiculously good reviews in order for me to play this one. And something tells me even if it's a good mechanical game, it's not going to get those reviews. Like like I wish could we kick the cube off too? Can you kick the cube off too? Like if they change this to the promotional material, then it might go into the auto buy category. Oh yeah, I remember hearing about this. Like Sony did it again. You can thank the usual consultants. So this is the actress, and that is the model they went with. Like there has to be malice there, right? Like you can make characters, like usually when you animate a character, you make them look more beautiful, right? Because it's easy to do that through animation. To make them more ugly is actually harder to do. Like this is intentional. Someone intentionally did that. Like, at what point do you get to sue? Because like that is done out of malice, in my opinion. Because she's just far hotter than her in-game character. Video now. Okay. Oh, that's cool. I don't know if I want to listen to this. In order to male gamers to stand up against Santa Monica Studios for pushing woke politics. Do we even know anything about their story? Rest in peace. Okay. So like, I played God of War a long time ago, so I don't. This is the character that died. So she is Kratos' wife. That explains all of these. Okay. No. Like don't put these stupid little characters in. Usually that doesn't go well. that scene was so great.
Become a daddy, get a clean slate. That ain't no thing. You're a destroyer, like me.
Kratos.
I'm gonna be honest, the only one I was watching was the top. Like, when it comes to things like this, it's almost like they don't understand the basics anymore. So let's try and get back to the basics here. If we want to speak in generalities, if a woman is making a book, for example, the audience of that book is primarily going to be women. if a man's making a book, the audience of that book is primarily going to be men. Men can just write books that men like more. Women can write books that women like more. There are exceptions, obviously. Like male sides, you have like Lord of the Rings, plenty of women like that series. Female side, you have Harry Potter, plenty of men that like Harry Potter. There are stories that you can write that surpass the gender, but I guarantee you there are more men that like Lord of the Rings, and there are more women that like Harry Potter. And so the generality stands. And so the issue you run into, and I'm going to get into what I see as like the life cycle of Western video game studios. The issue you get into is that if you want to make a AAA game, what percentage of people who buy Call of Duty are men and what percentage are women? Like they might have statistics on that, but generally, if you're making a big AAA game, and specifically like one designed for men, God of War was a very male-oriented game. There isn't a clean. Okay. The most male-skewed estimates put it around 80% male. With players age 15-19 making up a 20% of play, leaving roughly 20% female. So you're looking at 80% of your sales coming from men, right? And so if you're making a AAA video game and you're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on this game, you can't target the 20% and make profit. Like you can't do that. That they make up 20% of your sales. Maybe I personally think that women playing video games is one of the industries that is growing. But at least when you're looking at large scale AAA games that have historically been male dominated, you're still looking at an 80% male player base. And so using this logic, you should design the game for your player base, which is primarily men. And I'll just be honest, this is where I see DEI has done like significant damage to Western studios. So what happens is that a studio starts out small. Usually you just have a small team. What's the game called? What's the studio called that built Expedition 33? Like usually you start off with just like a small team, and you create some really good games. You get a lot of money. You expand, and somewhere in that expansion, you start DEI, and that brings in usually a lot more women into a studio. And specifically, like we can look at something like this, and so this is the studio, Sandfall Interactive. Let's see their ratio of men to women. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we got 1 out of 6, and that looks like their main. I assume these are their main leads. So 1 out of 6 are women. The lead writer, art director, music composer, CEO, producer, creative director. Like as soon as you start DEI and you're like the amount of people you have expands, you bring more women into the decision making process, and just statistically, the more women you have higher up in the decision making process, the less your product will appeal specifically to men, which is 80% of your player base. And so I'll be honest with you, like if you build Call of Duty or God of War, keeping less women in the decision making, like the decision making aspects of the game, will just make a better product for the men buying the game. I know people don't want to believe that, but like, men make products better for men, women make products better for women. I personally believe that women are a growing aspect of video games, and that we will see AAA titles specifically designed for them, maybe, I don't know, 5 years or whenever. Whenever you can target the 20%, which will go up and make a profit. But at this time, if you're spending hundreds of millions of dollars, you're making a game for men. And I just feel like the studio starts out small, gets infected with DEI, loses touch with their base, and they stop making games for the primary consumer of those games. And that is when you see the collapse of the studios. And unfortunately, it looks like The Witcher and God of War are both on this path right now. They're at the end stages. They haven't collapsed yet, but like, they're near the end. Hopefully from their ashes, we will get better video games. Yeah, like what is this? The Witcher? I mean, The Last of Us 2 was so bad, it literally hurt my opinion of the original game. There was a time where I would have said The Last of Us, the original, was the greatest game ever made. And The Last of Us 2 changed that for me. Like, you did so much damage to the story that it literally degraded the original product. We don't know how the God of War or The Witcher are going to turn out, but if it's anything like The Last of Us, like, I do not have high hope. No idea. I've never played Ghost of Tsushima. Anyway, the memes are hilarious. Anyways, so the God of War, I was excited for the next one. I am no longer excited for the next one.